One of the solutions that's added a lot of new functionality to Enroute is the ATP Setup Solution. And if we come here to the Solutions button, we'll see ATP File Setup. What this is going to do is it's going to allow me to create a cut list for use with DXF files where I'm not using a design application. If you go to the Auto Toolpath button and we go here to the Setup tab, historically when you were not using a design application, you didn't have any way to do a printout of parts or to do labeling if you desired. But with this little solution that was written, a cut list can be generated and used for this purpose. So what we would do is go here first of all and go to the Solutions menu and go to ATP File Setup. From this dialog box, I can select the files that I want to create an ATP file here. And I have a few parts that I've created that are just DXF files with a single layer in them. I'm going to select all four of these and hit open. I'm going to specify my material type. I'll put 0.5 inch aluminum, thickness as 0.5 inches. And this is for all these parts. So let's say I wanted to do 3 of each of these. And now I'm going to hit add. And I'll see here that I've listed the 4 parts that I selected and hit add. Now if I wanted to add some additional files, I could do that. And this time I'm just going to go ahead and hit Save File. And Save File, it's going to create a cut list that I can use, a comma separated value cut list that I can use when I'm processing these files to generate some information about where each of the parts are on screen. One of the things that will be helpful here is if you use a file name that will give you a little bit of information, such as your part name or your part number. That way, when this information is seen on screen, it will give you a little information about what each part is. Here I made a part name that equaled what the actual shape was that was going to be created, or that's contained in the DXF file. So now I'll go back here. I created my cut list. Now where this creates is on the C drive. So I'm going to go here to my Auto Toolpath, and I'm going to use for my setup one of the standard formats here, which is just KCD. And now it's asking me to choose a list file. So I'm going to go to the C drive, and the ATP file is created on the C drive. Of course, once it's created, I could copy it to another folder. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it directly on the C drive. Each of the parts is listed here, my part name, and I can sort by part name here if I want. There's no width and length information here. It's just going to give me the information I specified, so that's why the layer name could be important. But I do get to specify the material type, unit number if that's information that was available to me, a quantity, and whether I can allow this to rotate or not. And once I have all this information, in this case I have one layer name called cutout, and I have a simple male offset applied to this. So the next step would just be to go ahead and create the output. Now I'm going to create a printout of parts, and I'll also specify a user path here. I'm going to go to the C drive, and I'll go to Enroute 5 ATP, and let's call this part, let's call this output test part. All right, we'll call this test parts. All right, so we're going to do a printout of parts. Now I'm going to choose here a method of printing that I can view on screen. So I'll say the document writer here, and we'll hit process files. So what that's going to do is it's going to create 3 copies of each of these. Now I have a save as button here. It's asking me what I want to save this document file as. We'll just call this test parts and hit save. And so here's our output that's created. And we can see we've created 3 of each of these. Now if I go to Internet Explorer here, or excuse me, Windows Explorer, I'm just going to open this up, and let's go to the desktop. And we see here a file that we just created, which is test parts. If I double click on this, it'll open up in the XPS viewer. And we can see here that we have a list of each of the parts, where they are on screen, and what this particular, what the file path name was, and what the DXF file name is. So by using a DXF name that will help you get some information about the part, you can easily come in here and use this process of both doing a layer printout and labeling. And this is being done without having a specific design application, but using this solution that was created in Enroute by Microsystems for us out of Buchanan. which is the ATP file setup. So this is a new way to create a cut list and to generate layer printout and labels if you have the labeling option for when you're processing layered DXF files within Route's auto toolpath.